Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining the session this afternoon. It's great to have you here. We will also start right into this masterclass with Hermann Arnold today. First of all, thank you, Hermann, for being here. It's great to have you. Maybe for those who don't know Hermann Arnold, he was the co-founder of Start and also of B2B, one of the leading venture capital firms here in Europe, and also the founder of Mentees, and as well an active business angel and mentor for many young startups. I'm very much looking forward to this masterclass today on the topic of give forward, mentoring, and entrepreneurship. And with that being said, I would also hand over to you, Hermann.
Thank you very much for having me, and also for this topic. I will talk a little bit about my experiences being mentored as a mentee and also now as a mentor. Thank you very much for the introduction. I have prepared one very short slide, but it's already all said. I have co-founded several startups, had the luck to exit one 9-digit exit that provided me the possibility also to invest in startups. I privately engage in also reforming democracy, and privately I'm proud and happy father of 3 little girls. When I reflected on this topic, the first time I realized this concept of giving forward, and I don't know how many of you know it, was when I was in India. Very stereotype experience after stepping down as CEO. I had a trip to India, and I also wanted to learn meditation, and I went to a Vipassana meditation center, and there you don't have to pay. Yeah, you are invited. That means you go there and you are invited, and they don't ask you for payment, they don't ask you for donations, you're just invited. And only after finishing 10 days of very intense meditation training, then they tell you, if you want, you can donate something, but not for what you got, because you were invited by others, but you can decide how many other people you want to provide this experience, and that means you paying forward. You pay for others to be invited. And that for me was quite an interesting point, because when I then looked how much I donated, I was not calculating how much was it worth for me. I wanted to maximize what I think should be good for others to go. And that was the first time I got into contact with this paying forward. And then I realized that I had privately a lot of those experiences during my entrepreneurial life. And one of the most foundational was with Wolfgang Schürer. He's one of the big mentors at the University of St. Gallen for student initiatives. He founded one, he's mentoring a lot of people. And then I realized when we were starting out of Start, we had Start as an organization, we have done that, and then we started writing business plans, and Wolfgang Schürer got to know that we were writing a business plan to start B2B. And then at the ESC, the other large conference at the University of Scotland, he was showing us and saying, hey, come. And then we were gathering around him with the 3 founders. And then he said, well, he got to know that we are writing a business plan and that we want to start a business. And the person that doesn't want to be named wants to give us 50,000 Swiss francs if we bring together the other 50,000 Swiss francs to incorporate our company. And that was, you have to imagine, it was no strings attached, just supporting us and starting a business because he knew us and he wanted to support us. And that was also very important for us. If we wouldn't have had it, it was the perfect timing, the perfect way how to do it. And that helped us to jump over our shadows are not doing a project and not starting a business, but really to make it serious. And that was quite for me a life-changing experience, obviously, on a lot of different examples. And then when you look in your life, and I'm sure probably you don't have exactly such experiences, but then I was looking into my former or my startup life, and I met a lot of people that were supporting our cause without ever expecting something to get back. Yeah. And that's really amazing. And obviously there are supporters at the beginning, also the first investors, even though they invest and get shares, at the end it's more or less giving something forward in a different other way. And then you have the first customers, you have partners, and obviously the most fundamental way of giving forward is a family. Yeah, that means your parents gave birth to you, they raised you. Just they don't necessarily expect anything getting back. That changed. Yeah, earlier days we were the pension funds for our parents, but that's also changed. That means everyone who now puts kids in life is something just giving forward, because we also receive the same. And reflecting on that, I wanted to put together learnings, how I perceive a good mentorship from the perspective of a mentor, of a mentee, and then also 3 things that I think you should be very cautious about. And as a mentor, I don't know how many of you are in mentoring relationships. As a mentor, I had to learn that it's a gift at the end. That means if you give someone a t-shirt, obviously you want this person to wear the t-shirt, but you know you cannot force this person. And if the person doesn't wear the t-shirt, obviously somehow it didn't fit, out of whatever reasons. And you should not be, obviously you're a little bit disappointed, but nevertheless, you know how it works with gifts. And that means the most important setting from your expectations is don't expect anything back, because you give forward, or you gift forward. And that's really hard. And I put it very, very clearly. You should not expect a thank you, not even a thank you. No appreciation, no public mentioning, no feedback if it was good or bad. Also not that people follow your advice as a mentor. Understand that you give something forward. That means you do it because you received something forward, and there's no way that you should expect something back. That will make you much relaxeder and much happier in your mentorship relationships, because that's something you give this person as a gift. You don't have to convince the person, you don't have to push it, you don't have to follow up if it's executed or not. You just provide it as a gift, and then the person has to decide what to do with it. And that frees a lot of problems in mentorship relationships if you go like that. The second is, what I realized is that it's quite helpful to align expectations on the how. How you do the mentoring. And there are totally different mentoring styles. There are some people that like more the on-demand. That means whenever you have a problem or a question, just call me, drop me a note, whatever. Some others like more regular meetings. Let's meet once a week or once a month or whatever. Should it be online or offline, phone call, video conference, coffee, dinner, lunch, beer, wine? Is it more something that you are active? That means I, as a mentor, call people and ask them how they are. That's, for example, not my style. Or more reactive. If you're happy, I'm happy. I won't call you how you feel. If you have an issue, you call me. Is it more often short, or you prefer more long sessions less often? Do you expect reports, what's going on, or just questions and so on? That means make something like a manual how you as a mentor work best, because then you set the state. And for example, when I'm entering a mentorship relationship, I say, hey guys, I'm not the one who will run behind you and ask how you are and how did you do and so on. That means when you come, then I add a value. If you don't come, I suppose I don't add a value, I don't have a question for me, and that's totally fine. Yeah. But the interesting point, what I also realized is if someone says, hey, do you have 5 minutes, then I'm trying to always make it on the same day, because those 5 minutes are most of the time the very important ones. Yeah. But provide a manual that your mentee knows how to approach you and what you like. Yeah. And then you can see how it works together. And the third thing, for your personal satisfaction, yeah, the success of the mentee is your success. Even if you provide a feedback or an advice that this person doesn't take, nevertheless, yeah, that means you should take your satisfaction of a successful mentee, and not necessarily that you provided the most important advices or inputs for the success. Yeah, that doesn't matter, because at the end it's always the journey of the mentee that you try to support, and therefore you should be happy with that. And if this person is successful without you, yeah, then you're also a good mentor. Yeah, then you didn't screw it up. Yeah. And when you look as a mentee, when you want to enter a mentorship relationship, or when you are in a mentorship relationship, the most important thing is to ask. Yeah, and dare to ask for anything. Yeah, because the worst thing that can happen is that you get a no. Yeah, that means even if you say, okay, this would be a person that I would like to have as a mentor, approach this person and ask, could you be a mentor for me? Yeah. If you get a no, then you get a no, nothing lost. But surprisingly often you will get a yes, and that's really cool. And then you get something that you didn't even dare to ask first. Obviously, it's a little bit a thing that you have to have the courage to ask, but you should do that, and obviously in a friendly way. Yeah. And if you get a no, then at least you can learn. Yeah, you can learn why, you can improve how you ask your questions and so on to get to point. But that is one. Yeah, dare to ask. And when you then look at the relationship with your mentor, you should value your mentor and take his advice serious, but not like a boss. Yeah, that means you get an advice, it's still your decision if you want to follow or not. That's not your boss that tells you what to do. And you can also not then blame the person if you followed an advice and it was going wrong. Yeah, it's still your responsibility, but take it as an advice, and an advice is an advice. You decide what you do with it. If you take it, if you adapt it, if you neglect it, whatever. You yourself stay responsible. Don't delegate this responsibility to your mentor. But that's really also something that I often see, that you then feel that some mentees feel uncomfortable if they don't follow an advice that I have given. And I personally am happy, yeah, to have such mentorship relationships, because I get a little bit nervous when there is, for example, a startup working day in, day out on a certain thing, and I have a very short look at it, and then I have an idea and they start executing and pivoting around just because I had this 5 minutes idea. That makes me a little bit nervous. Therefore, really take advices as advices and take it as your responsibility to understand if it's a good thing or not. And then, although for the mentors, I said they should not expect anything, you as a mentee should provide updates. Yeah, that is more or less the currency that feeds a mentor. Yeah, do it minimally intrusive. You can also ask how they want to have it. Yeah, but let them be part of your journey as you would inform friends what's going on. Yeah, most of the time people like very short information that they then can pick up. Yeah, but don't try to invent things or fake things just because you have heard something and then you just say something that you have done something because your mentor told you something. That's not the honest relationship. And you don't even have to reference to the accomplishments that your mentor did in your relationship, but just that the mentor can be part in your journey is a nice thing. Yeah. And then finishing up, the things that I say you should stay away or at least be quite cautious is don't get in those getting back relationships when you're doing a mentorship relationship. That means as a mentor, you should not ask for money or for shares. Yeah, it's really horrible if you have those consultants or those business angels or whatever that just say, hey, I have so valuable input, therefore I expect shares for what I'm doing. Yeah, that is, especially at the beginning, it's not the way it should be done. Yeah, if you have a mentor, it's a mentor. There's no expecting getting something back. Therefore, you should be cautious if you have people offering or providing you such things. Yeah? And of course, a mentor can be financially interested, and I am that sometimes, yeah, out of a mentorship relationship, I think that could be nice to also invest. And sometimes startups do investment rounds and even don't ask me, and then it's also fine, yeah. And sometimes they ask me, and then I'm happy to invest. But then it should be a normal valuation. And if you're a mentor, then you should also take, for example, the lead investment or the first investment, because that is something where you also give forward, because you trust and give a first success in the funding round. The second, also as a startup, when you're a mentee, you don't try to give back financially to I don't know, in pay a dinner or even provide some cash or whatever. I think that makes such a relationship quite transactional, yeah. Because when you start with such things, then probably the mentor expected the next time again and the next time again, and then it's more or less, was it worth it? And okay, this time I got more and less. Sometimes really money screws up relationships, and I think in a menteeship relationship, you shouldn't do that. That means, yeah. And those who take money and shares out of my perspective are mentors. Having said that, if you invest to a real valuation, that's a different story. That works, yeah. But not for, I provide you some mentorship advice and therefore you give me shares. Yeah, that's not cool. And the last thing, also be careful to get involved otherwise, yeah, because mentorship mentee relationship is always a little bit uneven. You know? There's someone who is older, someone probably that had more success already on his plate, is more experienced, probably also more wealthy. And on the other side, as a mentee, you're young, talented, full of life, whatever. And that means there are a lot of things that could complicate your judgment. Yeah, if it's to get a job, that means, I don't know, I'm a mentor and then I offer a mentee a job in my company. Perhaps the mentee is not so free to decide if it's really good or not, if it's what he or she wants, and therefore it could be awkward and also destroy the good way. Yeah. That means, I don't say don't do it 100%, not, but be very cautious that you be aware of that. Also, I'm working on gigs and also romantic relationships. Well, I know marriages that came out of mentorship, menteeship relationships, but it's really, I would say, a very, very fine line. Yeah, I would stay away from such things, because you never know, is it because of me or is it because of money, experience, power, whatever. Yeah. So, and having said that, I think first of all, you can always look in your personal history and you will always find people that supported you, and that should give you also the strength to give forward the moment you are in a position to give forward. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions in the chat. As I understood, you can always ask questions, but you have to do it in the chat.
Exactly. Yes, and I received the questions and
Okay.
forward them to you, Herman. So
Okay.
the first question from our audience is, can you give some more tips on how you actually don't force yourself on a mentor? How do you approach a mentor without being too pushy? How do you provide also value to your mentor?
Well, approaching without being too pushy, it's a set. Just try it. But what is important? Yeah, that means you should be really good prepared. You should really understand why this mentor can provide value to you. You should know a little bit now. You can research about every person. You can know exactly what this person is all about, what's interested in. You can reference to certain things that they have said and done, that they see, okay, this person really is interested in me as a person and not just, okay, trying everyone to find some people for mentorship. And then also the question is it really only that you are interested in mentorship, or don't you want to tap the network or want to have cash as financing and so on? Yeah, don't try to mix that. Yeah, don't try to get someone as mentor and then because you want this person to get as an investor. Obviously it can happen, but be really aware if it's about mentorship, go this way, prepare yourself, and then just ask. And as I always say, as long as you're a student, it's so easy because there's seldom someone who says no to a request from a student. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the answer. Another question is, how do you choose your mentees? What are the criteria you're looking for in a mentee?
No, that is the consequence in the other direction, that I have a lot of them because I say seldom no. Yeah, that's now a bad thing to say in such a masterclass, but you have, and then if I'm in a mentorship matchmaking, like with the Start Fellowship program, that's a really great thing. There I look obviously in what areas those people are working in. Is this something that I'm really passionate about? Because then I can somehow add more value. And do I like the people from what they do and background and so on? And for example, now in the fellowship, I mentor two. One is Guru, Dianis. She's really bright and smart and they're doing a great thing that I'm passionate about. And then Tudor from Retrix, who is also really smart and doing something that I have business experience in the human resource area. And therefore, I thought that's a good fit. And then I did it. I also have to say I was approached by one other fellow, and that is something that I was not so passionate about it. And then I had to say, sorry, I provided still feedback, but I could not engage in a real mentorship relationship. But because of, I can do it somehow because I'm really reactive. I say, I don't run behind you. I will never ask how you are. If you have a question, just approach me and then I'm available. And that works somehow. Yeah? But obviously it depends also how you do your mentorship relationships, and some are much more intense. And then you cannot have as many as I have, for example.
Thank you. We have so many questions. So maybe the next one would be, when do you know you're ready to be a mentor for others? Should you rather wait until you gather some experience, or can you even start as a student already?
Well, if you understand your role as a mentor, that you get asked if you can mentor someone, then it's just a question if you get asked. Yeah. The moment you get asked, you can start in a relationship of mentorship. Obviously, if you embark in a more formal mentorship program where you apply, then if you feel ready and if you think you can provide some value, then do it. And if you're doing that in a good way, then just try it out and be open on the feedback. It's probably never too early to give forward for what you also have received. But if you feel you're ready, then do it. And most of the time, if you're really valuable as a mentor, then you will have already people approaching you and asking you.
Perfect, thank you. Another question from the audience. He says, thank you for this very insightful and reflected session. My personal highlight of this Start Summit. How do you cope with someone taking your advice and it goes wrong? Even if the person is responsible themselves, this must have an impact on you as a mentor, or as a mentor as well. What do you has to say to that?
Yeah, well, that's obviously awkward. Yeah, and I feel bad, and therefore most of the time when I give my feedback and my advice, I say, well, that's my opinion, but you have to judge. You have to understand if it's the right thing to do because you're responsible. I don't expect praise when my feedback was valuable. Yeah, that's the same if you give someone a t-shirt, yeah, and this person runs around with the t-shirt and gets a lot of positive feedback and everyone says, wow, that's a nice t-shirt, it suits you well. This person will not always say, well, yeah, thank you very much, and I got this t-shirt from Herman. No, you say thank you and go. Yeah, and that's something that I had to learn, that it's not like taking the feathers from someone else. I don't know if this English saying is, that means sich mit fremden Federn schmücken, that you take, if someone takes an advice from you and is successful with it, it's still the result of and the success of this person, because often you get a lot of different feedbacks and different inputs, and you have to decide whom you follow. And that means if you provide a feedback or an input and this is successful, then it's still the success of this person because this person choose to take your advice over others. And then it's also clear that at the end, this person cannot blame you for an advice following that was a bad advice. Yeah, but still, it feels awkward, and I obviously had some of those, and then I tried to help to get out of the mess. But yeah, you cannot always be 100% right. Yeah. But therefore, my main thing is always make a disclaimer. You're responsible for. I don't know nothing about what you're doing. I can provide you my information, my look at it, and my point of view, but at the end, it's your responsibility.
Great, thank you. Maybe we have time for 2 more questions. The first one would be, how long would one mentoring session last for you? And how many mentees would you normally take in the same period?
Most of the time my mentoring sessions are 1 hour, because I have a calendar where I have availabilities published, and they are 1 hour. And that means this is the normal time I have, and I do it more on demand. That means if one of my mentees needs me, can go to this calendar, pick a date, just send me an invite. I don't need the, hey, do you have time or not? They just can do it, and I do it for everything, and that works quite well. And I personally try not to onboard more than 2 mentees a year. Yeah, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. And then the older mentorship relationships, they fade out a little bit. Then sometimes they come back and I'm really happy about, and sometimes they moved on. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Maybe one last question, very startup related. Is it better to choose only one mentor for your startup, or different mentors for specific topics, such as sales?
It's very difficult to say, because obviously mentors have different specialties. That's true, and therefore I personally would, when I reflect on it, yeah, for me, when I started, I didn't have this very clear mentorship. That I just had people that were nice to me and helped me and supported me, and I sometimes went into them to ask them for advice, and therefore I probably had also back then a network of mentors. I probably would say, yeah, to have several is probably good. Yeah, obviously you should have someone that is more like your general physician, yeah, where you go with all the problems, and then you probably have some that are specialized, because it's obviously it's also personal relationships that take time to nurture.
Perfect. Thank you for answering those questions, Herman. We still have some in the chat. Also, the question whether you can share your email, but I would say they can easily find you on LinkedIn and maybe get in touch with you there too. So that will be actually it from our side here with this masterclass. Thank you so much, Herman, for joining us, taking the time and presenting your insights on mentoring. It's great to see you support. Also hear some START global team members and also fellows of the START Fellowship as a mentor. And yeah, I hope to all of the participants, I hope you liked and enjoyed the session today. We would very much like to welcome you on the platform the next 2 days again. And yeah, we will also see Herman Arnold again tomorrow during the 25th anniversary session in our learning center where we stream tomorrow. So make sure to tune in and have a great afternoon, everybody.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's really an amazing thing you're doing. So congratulations, and looking forward to see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.